let's just say the PTSD, anxiety, and lo and behold, when they have children, how that impacts their family, because everything is so different at that time, and it's hard on them. It's really hard. And we've seen the devastation of that. We've seen the tears. We've seen the anger. We've seen the, nobody cares, and, nobody is looking into this, and it's hurtful. It's really hurtful.
Yeah, and it sounds like it, can be, first of all, I would not want that to happen to my mother, my aunt, my sister, my nephew, my niece, my, a daughter or anyone, right? For any woman to go through that. But then women are also in combat roles now, and, they have the same susceptibility to PTSD as men do. They go into combat situations, and then to put this on top of that seems to be extremely unfair and something that should be actually guarded against and prevented. All right?
And yeah, absolutely. And the other thing about this is even when they get halfway to a point where they can go to work, and maybe they're working for the Department of Veterans Affairs or, the Human Services or one of those federal agencies, even city or county, there's sexual harassment in those agencies, in the Department of Veterans Affairs. I read a study on that. And now you're talking about dual sex harassment for them. Sometimes there's no coming back from that, and maybe later on we'll get a chance to talk about it more in depth, because the U.S. Government Accountability Office gave the VA and Congress 7 recommendations, and so we can explore those recommendations and see how the VA is faring on them, what they've done, what they still need to do. And, we just can't keep having even, not just one person who was affected by this, and that's one of the reasons why, we're so proud to be a partner with America's Heroes Group Roundtable. And, we need to work on this plan that we've got. We want to create funding through grants, and we welcome donations as well, to keep military sexual assault and harassment exposed. We have to keep it exposed. We've got to highlight it through aspects of this roundtable and social media. Right. We just can't have, a rally today and go back and everything is okay. And then, another one happens, and then here we are again at the same pace of where we were before. We must keep pushing. We got to keep pushing for change and consequences of those offenders.
Mm-hmm. Well, Rochelle, do you have a website people can go to or a telephone number for the organization? And I guess you can have women veterans join your organization as well, right? And I'm not sure about...
Absolutely.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yes, absolutely. They can call us, at 872-731-2150, and we invite them to visit our website at www.nwvu.org, and we're still working on the meat part of our partnership and how we're planning to, really attack this issue and make impact and keep it rounded so that women will do just that. They won't be afraid to say their name. They won't be afraid to, understand that they're safe and that we're here for them. We want to keep pushing that.
Mm-hmm. Rochelle, what would be your advice to, women who are now for the first time entering military service or, contemplating joining military service? Any, words of wisdom, or what should they be thinking when they go in with regard to this whole issue?
I think that, like any place that you go that you don't know about, you have to be cautious at all times. Mm-hmm. I think that more education needs to be done. A lot of them come from the ROTC, from either the university and or, public schools where they have it. And I think that they can do more education on it as well. I think that the military has a grave responsibility of talking to them when they first arrive also, when they're recruiting them. They should be telling them, things. They have to tell them the truth. That's first. Okay. We have to be honest about what's going on. We have to make sure that they are aware parents can do that same thing. We invite them to contact our organization so that we can pair them up with a mentor. We've got some amazing women in the organization who spent 30, 40 years in the military. They've been officers. They've been enlisted. They've been in nursing. They've been all around the world, land, air, and sea. We'd love to do that peer support with them, to get them ready and get them, to understand that you're going into a situation that you still have to act like you are at home and take care of yourself.
Oh, fantastic. That is really a great service you're providing. And it sounds like it should be a national service that's already provided to people, but sometimes you have to develop organizations, right, that supplement what's there that's missing. So it sounds like you're filling a gap that's really needed by the service members to make sure that they have some place to turn to. So I'm really proud of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? We don't want to have any more Vanessa Gans. Mm-hmm. We don't want to have any more Lavinia Johnson. We want to make it so that, they made the ultimate sacrifice. We're not going to remember, we're not going to forget. We're going to always remember those sacrifices that they have, and we're going to use that as a teaching tool so that our Congress will know that we're still out here on the battlefield, that we're not just going to stand by and let it continue to happen all over. We've got to get more aggressive about it. We've got to track legislation. We got to keep those faces on the walls of Congress, on the walls of the Senate, on the walls of the Veterans Affairs Committee and the Armed Forces. We cannot just stand by. And this is why I am so happy and so glad to be a part of, the America's Heroes Group, because over the years, we've seen how much you all have, put into the community with education, put into the community about exposure of all these things that are going on. It's not a shrug under the rug, if you will. You stood up to it, and we're standing up with you. We're going to be more aggressive about it. And, and I think that when we do that, I think we're going to get better results out of that as well. So, I salute you all, and we just have to keep pushing our women, letting them know that they are not alone out here. We are here. They can save their name. They are going to be saved. We're going to be here.
One thing, Rochelle, we had one person on the show just right before you came on. It was Stephen Seidman. He's an attorney really focused on personal injury. And he was mentioning that, with respect to sexual harassment, there's a Stand Up and Stop Harassment Now campaign. But can you tell us anything about what's going on, nationally as far as any legislation, anything that's moving right now that people need to be aware of?
Now, I was following that first Max Sally. She is from Arizona. Mm-hmm. She had a bill out, and it looks like it kind of slowed down a bit because it went to it's almost like they're tossing the ball back and forth. In other words, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It went to that's what they do. They move it on to the Military Affairs Committee. So because the responsibility, it lies there because it happens there. So they do have to do a lot more, but what we've seen over the years is that the numbers are going up. They're not going down. So it takes more than putting out the posters about sexual harassment. We could make those recommendations again about using the cameras, about using the polygraph test, about, direct putting those offenders on the registered predators list, so that they don't bring that behavior back to the community, so that they can't ever come in again anywhere, So, I mean, those are the things that we have to keep pushing for legislation-wise. I think it's a slow process. And there's others. I know that Senator Tammy Duckworth, she was working on some progress as well, Yes. So we're going to be following all of those, and we're going to really follow them to the extent that, when they start doing depositions and things like that, that's when we can start having the community to contact their senator, contact their congressman, and make sure that they know that we're watching. As long as you don't have a watch, You know what I'm saying? It's like when the mice, when the cat's away, the mice play.
Right,
You know,
right,
as long
right.
as you don't have that oversight, then it kind of slows down. Everything else is a priority. This has to be a priority. The lives of these women have to be a priority. And so we have to keep being aggressive and pushing it that way.
Yeah, that sounds so much like we should be focused on, making sure that we maintain a system that is fair and just. I mean, that's what our legal system is supposed to do, right? And that's what we're supposed to be doing as people who are military personnel, either, enlisted or officers, that you're there to make sure that, we have a just society and that you're fighting for the right ideals and right principles. And, there's nothing good about sexual assault or rape or anything in that category. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we definitely need to be on top of things, like you said. And
we're and we've got to make some other friends too across the country. And that's what I love most about the America's Heroes group. You're not just in Illinois, you're all over the world. And this is what it's going to take. It's going to take those people all over everywhere to make this happen.
Yeah, so because I know you're a national organization, so I know that you have members from multiple states that are involved in this. How does that play into things? I know it's with multiple bills going on at the same time, it must be an awesome task for you to keep up with everything that's going on across this country and then at the federal level. And so that's a lot of work. So I commend you, for taking on this monumental task. But your members come from different states, so people can join whether they're in, Washington State or whether they're in California or New York or Texas or Illinois. So you have people calling in from all different backgrounds. And this is a nonpartisan issue, right? It's a human rights issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what I always tell them? I said, we're not red and blue. We are red, white, and blue.
Right.
That's what we are. We're red, white, and blue. So we don't care about who it is, who's president, who's coming in, who's going out. But what we do care about is that you need to do something about it. Right. That's what we care about.
Yes. So it's an American right. It's a woman's right within this country, and it's something we tell everyone across over the seas. We hold people to different standards, but we have to hold ourselves to a standard too. And So, what do you think of some of the things or the services that women need who have gone through this? Is it, making sure we have enough psychological counseling? Because that's a very traumatic thing to go through. And do you think that services need to be, strengthened? And we now have this new act that went through, and the Mission Act, where you can actually go outside to see non-VA doctors. Do you think that is going to add anything, or how does that really change the playing field for, seeking treatment or, having your story told and heard?
Yeah, and I was very concerned about that, when it opened up about the Mission Act. I really was, because, it's almost like you're throwing those women, all of us, because I use the Mission Act also when I have to, and it's like you're throwing us out to others who may not specialize in that area, So, it's a difference for that mental health piece, it's totally different, and right. You'd have to understand and have done the studies on that to recognize on what the best, treatment is for that person, because trauma is trauma, and it's not something that right. just goes away automatically. It's periods of episodes that come with that. Are they ready for that? And if your doctor is over in another facility that's non-VA, and then, how do you get to the hospital in terms of now they got your records over there and your other records at the VA? It seems to be a little messy to me, and I'm sure that they're doing, a lot of things. I know they're doing the best efforts that they can, and they have, studied it pretty good. But those are my concerns. My concern is whether or not they have trained clinicians that can actually work with those women who've been in the VA system, who already have made, a path for them to talk to them. But, you get complaints about them too, though. They tell you that, their doctor doesn't care. They're on a time limit, and then they talk about those that are really, really impactful and helping them a lot, So it's up and it's down like any other healthcare system, I'm sure, but the concern has to be about those women, and whether or not they can keep up with that doctor and that there's no changes. That's something. When we're not consistent with care, we know what happens. It falls apart.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, and it's a good point you make, because the VA system, at least you have someone that has been familiar with how veterans are, impacted, by, various deployments and military life and the military service. And do you find anything going on, with the difference between people who are active duty versus people who are in the, in the private sector, or people who are like with National Guard and those kinds of things, or any difference between the branches of service? Because I know you cover all branches of service, that goes
Absolutely.
From Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, and even Coast Guard is out there, right? So do you see any, how does that play out between the different branches, and also whether someone is actually active duty on a military base, or versus being in a community? So any differences, or how does that work?
I think some of the difference is that, sometimes those who are like in the National Guard and the reserves, they think that they can go to the VA hospital. And there's a certain criteria that they have to have. That's first, because everybody has a myth about the VA taking care of you, But, we've had homeless women that have gone to the VA to try to get a service and couldn't get it because they didn't have that period of service that they needed as even a military person, and I find that so insulting and so insensitive, that, it shouldn't matter, whether or not, if you're wearing that uniform and you're in good standing, why wouldn't you see a doctor? Why wouldn't, if you go to the VA, you go to the VA for a purpose, and that's to be treated. There's a one-time humanitarian clause, they can get into that, but what about the rest of it? Some of them are barely making it with just that reserve and that National Guard payment. They're just barely making it, and we have to make sure that, if they need medical treatment and they don't, maybe we need to look at more legislation about that, because it makes a difference in their care.
Oh,
so that's a big difference.
That's absolutely. National Women Veterans United. You gave the phone number 872-731-2150, and then also your website was www.nwvu.org. So I'm hoping that people will pick up that phone, or check out the website and join this organization. It's incredible. But we're running out of time. So Rochelle, give me an overview of what you think is essential for people to know about this, both men and women, because men need to know about this too. We need to be here to support you, especially if we're commanders or people who are in position to make something happen.
Absolutely. So I'll just say one of the good things that we're proud about, too, is the fact that, not just we're all branches of service, but also, some are combat, some are non-combat, but we also have survivors of military sexual trauma as well. And that's the fit that they would find, what we call, that match where they can talk about what their experiences were, and then they can peer each other. That peer support is so important. And for our males, we stand by them as well, because, the whole thing is to get rid of what's going on in the military by all costs and all measures, so it doesn't really matter if you're male or female, but, we're working on that female perspective of it because we're the highest population of it,
Right.
So, we just want them to pair up with us, and we'll make things happen for them. We're going to make things happen through this roundtable, and I can't thank you all enough. And Glenda, God bless her, and you, Cliff, and Dr. Arnold, thank you all so, so very much.